So doctors, I need you to picture this. What if you failed your Canadian medical exam? You've been waiting for weeks after you wrote the exam. Whether you were at work, you were sitting in the car, you were talking to a friend, boom, you get an email. Check your visa supply portal. There's an email there waiting for you. You quickly go in, you put in your username, you put in your password, you go to the exam results section, you open the email, your eyes hit a particular number, okay? Your stomach is churning and you see the word you are dreading all this while. F-A-I-L. Fail. You failed. In that moment, your whole world feels like it collapsed. All the years of study, the sacrifices you made, the money you invested in this. Sometimes you might have even borrowed money to register for the exam or to take a course, right? The dream of practicing in Canada, it all suddenly feels like it's slipping away from your hands. And maybe right now, you are even asking yourself, am I really cut out for this thing? Did I waste all my efforts? Maybe I should just give up. Here's what I need you to know. Failing in your board exam is not the end of your story. I really want you to know that. In fact, for many doctors, it's the very moment that will turn your story around. And today I'm going to be brutally honest why internationally trained physicians fail more than Canadian doctors. And I'll give you 5 actionable steps. I mean 5 that can transform your failure into your greatest comeback so far as your medical career is concerned. So kindly stick with me to the end because I promise you're going to walk away seeing your failure in a completely new light. So let's start with the truth. In 2021, I was just reading some Medical Council of Canada report. Canadian medical graduates who took the MCCQE1 Part 1 had a pass rate of 96%. 96%. When I compare that to the international medical graduates numbers, the pass rate was 56% for international medical graduates for the first time exam takers. And for those who repeat the exam for international medical graduates, I was thinking that, the pass rate would go up. Rather, what I found out was that the pass rate rather dropped further from 56% to 43%. So what does this tell me? It tells me that 1 out of every 2 international doctors fail the exam on their first attempt. So if you're walking down the street and you meet 2 internationally trained doctors on the first attempt of this exam, 1 out of 2 fail the exam. And most rewrite this exam without any new strategy. And that is why you realize that some even fail further so far as the retake is concerned. So if you failed this exam, what I really want you to know from the big picture is that you are not alone. You are not the only one. And you are part of a much bigger story, a story that can end in victory. And so for me, the take-home point is very simple. Failing does not mean you are not capable. It just means that you probably need a different strategy. But why do IMGs stumble? Let's really have a conversation about that. The first reason which comes into mind is different medical systems. And what do I mean by this? You trained in one system. The exam is testing you in another system. The principles are the same, but the way the exam will frame the priorities and the answers expected are totally different. I've seen brilliant doctors who walk out of the exam, saying, I knew the medicine, but the answer they wanted wasn't how I was trained to think, right? And so for me, the take-home point is this. It's not about being a bad doctor. It's really about learning how the Canadian system wants you to think so far as medical concerns and how to deal with issues are concerned. Number 2, another reason why I think a lot of IMGs fail is the exam style and stamina. In many countries, exams are essay-based, can be oral, it can be shorter. What about MCCQE1? It's hours of timed multi-choice questions. And it's not just about knowledge, it's also about endurance. Prior to 2025 April, the exam was a 9-hour exam. So you may have the knowledge, but you have the endurance, and that also comes with good preparation because if you prepared well, then you can sit through. But if you are now thinking through each of the concepts without focusing on what the objectives of the exam are, then those 9 hours were going to be tough. Since April 2025, the amount of time you are using for the exam has reduced from 9 hours to 6 hours. So, I know candidates who say by the halfway mark or by the halfway time, my brain just shuts down. I started second guessing myself and rushing through. They knew the objectives, they knew the content, but the format of the exam had drained them. So what is the take-home point here? The exam doesn't just test what you know. It also tests how long you can think clearly under pressure, because in reality, that is what you'll be doing as a doctor, right? 8 hours of work and you are thinking on your feet, different medical condition upon different medical condition upon different medical condition. And so you need to train yourself for that. Or for example, can you imagine you are in the emergency room, you are doing a 12-hour shift and different people are coming with different conditions and you need to think on your feet. So the exam also simulates what you need to expect in real life practice in terms of endurance. The third reason is a lack of structured support. Don't forget, you are writing the exam as an international medical graduate. The Canadian medical trained doctor is also writing the exam, and the person is being prepared in the medical school. They are being given lectures, they are going through preparatory courses, they are meeting mentors, they have study groups, and they are in the medical school focused on preparing for this. But what about international medical graduate? Many of us are studying alone. We are just piecing resources together. Oh, someone says this thing, someone says this particular resource, someone says this particular website. You don't have everything in one place. You don't even know whether you are covering what really matters. So one doctor was telling me when I started talking about the MCC objectives. One doctor said, I studied for months, but I didn't even realize certain topics would be tested. I had no guidance. I had picked the popular books and I wanted to read cover to cover. I just looked at it and I was like, no, that's not how you should prepare for this exam. So what's the take-home point from here? Trying to face this exam without structure and support is like climbing a mountain without a map. So yes, the odds are stacked, but there's good news. Every year, thousands of IMGs also pass the exam, and the difference is very clear. They treat the failure as a comeback and they rebuild smarter. And these are the 5 steps that come in their preparatory program. Number 1, you need to analyze your score breakdown. That's very important. And so for me, I'll be very glad if you went through something like this. You went through a failure and you want your score breakdown to be analyzed. I'll be very glad. Get in touch with us and let's review your score breakdown, because I don't want you to just stare at your total results and sink into disappointment and go like, oh my goodness, what is going on here? That breakdown is a gift the medical council gives you. So maybe you realize that you were confident in one area, say acute medicine, but you consistently struggled in, say, management. Okay, so that's your clue. That's where you need to start doing the repair work, and that's where the repairs will have to start happening from. You need to identify your weakest areas, focus most of your energy there, and I need you to take this home. Your score report isn't a verdict, it's a roadmap for how you're going to chart your way going forward. Number 2, I need you to book your retake of the exam strategically. What do I mean by this? Many candidates, as soon as they see their results, they are so angry, they are so sad. They go like, okay, I'm going to take the exam again in 2 months. And go like, no, don't do that. Take a step back. Think about what happened. Many IMGs take long before their next attempt. Some also go right into the next attempt just like that. So by the time they return to their knowledge, it has already faded and their confidence is lower and their fear has grown stronger. And that's part of why I think, the failure rate, even among repeat test takers, is higher than the first time takers. Because, I've seen candidates who either went into the exam so quickly after the failure, or they waited for about a year. By that time, a lot of the momentum you had built for the first exam is already gone. And it's like you have to really start everything all over again. So my point and my action point here is this: don't go into the exam right after a failure, like after a few weeks, no. But at the same time, don't also delay it too much. Each of them have their own side effects that you don't want. The quicker you go in, chances are that you're not re-strategized. The longer you also wait, chances are that you've lost a lot of momentum. The third step I want you to take is switch your study method. Switch it up. If you studied by just reading and rereading, then I need you to stop. This exam does not reward passive memory. It rather rewards active application. Okay, so I have candidates who tell me, I studied everything twice, but I still fail. When, actually they switch to practicing questions, they switch to doing timed drills, they switch to active recall, their results change. And that is why I'm very happy. The medical council has provided 55 free questions. They've also provided some questions you can buy from the website. Please go to the website, get those 55 free questions. And what I'll also do is I'm going to link that in the comment section so you can use it for your practice as well. Go to the medical council's website and please buy the questions which are for sale and do them timed. Do daily practice questions. Review your mistakes thoroughly. Use flashcards for the tricky areas, because if you study the same way again, you are likely to get the same results you got. So it's about time you change the method. And the fourth step I want you to take is simulate the real exam. Simulate it. You wouldn't run a marathon without practicing the distance. You wouldn't run a sprint without running like a sprint. You don't practice for a sprint by sitting in your room. Yet, many IMGs never sit sit through a full length time mock, then the exam day will come and they feel overwhelmed. I know doctors who will say, I knew the answers, but I ran out of time and I panicked. Not because they weren't prepared, but because they haven't trained and paced themselves for the journey ahead. So for me, the action I want you to take is very simple. Schedule at least 2 full length timed mocks. And at MedCognito, we offer that as well. Every 2 weeks, take a mock, a real mock. Sit down, take the full length mock. Practice the pace you're going to use. Practice endurance. Stay calm under pressure. Maybe you are trying to connect to a mock and your computer is fumbling. These things can happen on the exam day because especially now we're also using remote proctoring. There are days when your computer may mess up on the exam day. How are you going to calm yourself down? So for me, my take home point about that point is very simple. Train as if it's the game day so that the exam day does not feel like a deja vu. And the fifth point I want you to know is build your mindset and the support system you're going to use. Failure does not just hurt your score. It will also hit your confidence. It will make you doubt whether you actually belong here. One doctor told me this. I felt like I was the only one who failed. Then they joined a study group and they realized that half of the group had failed before. So that connection actually gave this doctor hope and it changed her approach. So my point, so far as this thing is concerned, is don't isolate yourself. Connect with mentors, join a study group, or plug into a structured program that understands your struggles. No one wins in this exam alone. Mindset and a support system are very important as your knowledge, which you will build. So let me leave you with this. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is actually part of success. And every stumble is preparing you for the day you walk into a Canadian hospital, a Canadian clinic, a Canadian long-term care facility, a Canadian emergency room with your white coat on and ready to serve your patient. So the real failure is not a score report. The real failure here is quitting the whole game altogether. And I know this, you didn't sacrifice your time, your money, and your family moments just to give up here. So this is not the end. This is the setup. And your comeback will be stronger than your setup. So here's what I want you to do right now. Hit on the subscribe button because I'll keep giving you strategies on what actually works for your journey. Number 2, share this video with your colleagues who are struggling as well. They need to know they are not alone. And number 3, if you're ready to rebuild with a proven system, check the link below. At MedCognito, we've built programs designed specifically for internationally trained doctors to help you even in your times of setback so you can come back strong. Don't forget that, your dream of practicing in Canada is still alive. And this exam is not your ending. It's just one chapter. The next one is your comeback. See you in the next video.